Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 16th day of September. Got a great show with you on for tonight. Bengals look to be okay, even though they lost and are at 0-2. That was the game of the week. We'll talk about that after the break here. And Bryce Young. Is Bryce Young a bust? He's already been benched. I'll talk about that as well. That's probably the biggest news story of the day. Also, Saints. Wow. Maybe the most shocking team winning in the fashion that they have won. Ravens go 0-2. Talk about that as well. 49ers call that. Myself, Mad New Yorker, and regular listener Pickles called that particular upset as well. So got a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and take our first and only break. I'll have a few announcements when we come back for the break, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks.
Oops. Let's do.
To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right, NESSP. Tap on the logo and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports, click on our NESSP logo, and add the channel. National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
All righty then, I'm back here live. You all know that I do drive a little Uber on the side, so that's basically I do Carvertise, which is, they advertise logos on the side of my vehicle while I do my day job, medical carrier. but also I do Uber on the side. And I wanted to give a shout out to a new subscriber here, El Guardo from Southern California here. Gave him a ride last Saturday morning. Hey, man, good luck with getting your car back and whatnot. And again, I want to thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel there. I always like to give people a shout out to new subscribers as much as I possibly can. Also, Coach Carroll, Kevin Carroll, who came on the program a few 5 or 6 weeks ago, talking about the University of Tennessee. Big college game, Tennessee at Oklahoma. I wonder if game day may be there this week. Game day is really good. They've got Nick Saban on there. And Nick Saban, I was watching the replay because I was working Saturday because I like to see what they were talking about, even though the game's already been played. And, he predicted 2 upsets. Toledo to beat Mississippi State, Nick Saban did. He's really good on game day, and he predicted Memphis to beat Florida State. So, but anyways, Coach Kevin Carroll will be on Wednesday. Talk about that. We'll give a little college football preview and see where he thinks the teams are at right now as we speak. I know Oregon's dropped down a little bit. They did beat Oregon State, but they're not quite as impressive as everybody making them out to be. They did look a little better this week than they did last week. It's just been a slow start for that particular team. But teams like Ole Miss and Tennessee they put 70 points on Kent State. They look like a machine, and Florida is continuing to sink. But I'll get into college football a little bit later this week, probably on Wednesday, just before Kevin comes on the program. We're working on another guest for Thursday, but we shall see. I don't like to get things in there until I actually get them. I don't like to make any announcements until I actually get a confirmation, if you know what I mean. Okay. The game of the week was that Bengals game. As I said, thank you to Jason Patterson for coming on the program last. I want to say he came on Thursday, right? Yeah, did a recorded interview with him. Looking at what he said, he did mention the fact that he thought that the wrist issue was going to be a major issue for Joe Burrow. Some balls looked like they did not quite have the velocity coming out of his hands. He did do some runs. He was running a little gingerly. Other than that, played pretty well. Cincinnati played pretty well, had control of that game. If it wasn't for a couple of huge mistakes, number one, a sack, strip, fumble, touchdown by Joe Burrow, and of course, not getting that, not completing their last drive there. With about 4 minutes to go, they're up by 1. If they get that field goal in that last drive, if they complete that, even if you give Mahomes 2 minutes to go, I think that Cincinnati wins that game. Mind you, Cincinnati, no T. Higgins, no Mixon, which I'm okay with that. New offensive coordinator, Jamar Chase playing at about 60%. He's not quite up to football level shape yet. And they still almost won the game. Probably still should have won that game. It was a playoff-like atmosphere. It was definitely the best game of the week. Pickle says go Vols there. There's without a doubt there. Lou and Moreno, Patrick Mahomes, 2 interceptions. Now, I mentioned Joe Burrow without Higgins, really not 100%. Now, Jermaine Burton, for some reason, he's not getting that many snaps. I don't know if he's not running the right routes. I'm not sure if he's not blocking right. But Burton, I'm telling you, I know this is a talented player here. Did get a big 47-yard catch there from Jermaine Burton. I expect him to be more and more, and he's just a rookie, more and more implemented into the offense as the season goes along. Plus, I actually think they have a tight end Cincinnati can use that they really haven't got implemented into this offense since Burrow's been a Bengal. And this is Mike Gesicki, former tight end of the Miami Dolphins. This guy had a great game, though. 7 catches, 91 yards off of 9 targets. He was really getting the proper matchup there. And I made some notes. Yeah, about 4 minutes ago, after going up 25-23, Pickles almost nailed that score there. If you recall, Pickles back last Friday. I thought maybe Kansas City would win by bigger margin and cover. It looks like that Kansas City, they got the win, but let me tell you, there's a few concerns about this Kansas City team. First off, we know that Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's been out on IR, some kind of mental issue, illness. He said something about PTSD or whatnot. He's been out on the IR. He's going to at least miss the first 4 games. They've only got 2 into this season. Now also that Isaiah Pacheco is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. I want to say with a was it a calf injury or something for Pacheco? I'll have to double check and see here. But Pacheco's not going to be in. They're going to end up having they brought Kareem Hunt. Pickles, you really almost nailed that one. Kareem Hunt in, trying to bring him in off the street here. So they're starting to get banged up here. Hollywood Brown is already on IR. He very well may miss the season. They still got Rashid Rice, but we don't know if something's going to happen with him in that suspension there. Broken fibula is what Pickle says. Pacheco, so Pacheco's going to be out for a while. It looks like they're going to go ahead. I haven't read that they've officially signed back. Kareem Hunt, former Kansas City Chief, former Cleveland Browns, kind of bounced around for a little bit. My guess is they will bring him in. So they're digging a little deep in their running back depth chart. You're starting to get into guys that I've never heard of. Just a wait and see approach there for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's somewhat of a problem. A bigger problem for the Bengals is they end up benching rookie left tackle Kingsbury Samantia. It might have been Kingsley, but it doesn't make no difference. Samantia had a great game against Baltimore, but Trey Henderson ate this guy alive. 3 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. He was living in the backfield. Now they have moved over this Wayna Norris there to left tackle. So the Chiefs, although they won, I'm a little bit more skeptical about them going ahead. That was the big issue coming into the season, really trying to plug a second-round left tackle in there like that and not really taking a chance. I still say they probably, for the betterment of the greater good of Kansas City, they probably should have just last year signed Orlando Brown. They wouldn't have to worry about it. Now they're moving guys in and out. Now they've gotten away with it. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl last year. They're going for their 3rd straight Super Bowl. But that's one thing I think Brett Veach has kind of missed the mark on. If you ask me personally. But, it's this team right here, and I thought I screenshotted their the rest of their schedule here. And I tell you what, the one Kingsley Samantia, 2nd-round pick out of BYU. I tell you, man, this guy. But that defense for Cincinnati looks to be legit. yeah, these guys got a pretty tough schedule coming up ahead, but it's not going to be as bad as it has been. You know, I mean, you're playing Baltimore and Cincinnati to start the season. Now they've got the Chargers coming up later. You know, they got this Raider team that just beat Baltimore as well, with the confident Gardner Minshew and their running game and their defense. So it's now, of course, the Denver issue. I get that. Denver is, I could have swore I had their, I just go ahead and do the old fashioned way and look up their schedule. I thought I had it on me, and I thought I had it screenshotted. I've had so much stuff to go down, and I'm trying to keep up with everything. Because that Bryce Young story is pretty interesting about him getting benched already. But the Chiefs, yeah, it gets a little easier. They got to play at Atlanta. Of course, Atlanta plays tonight. I like Philadelphia to win that game, even though A.J. Brown's not there. Now, Atlanta could beat them. They had a pretty good defense, good offensive line. We'll see. No A.J. Brown. Going to be an interesting game. I will watch a little bit of that one, per se. But anyways, yeah. So Kansas City, they play Atlanta at Atlanta. And then they got the Chargers at the Chargers. The Chargers got Pittsburgh next week, hypothetically. This coming up weekend, excuse me. Now we're on Monday already. The Chargers are playing lights out football right now on both sides of the ball. I know that I know the Herbert got a little banged up per se, but there's a very good chance that they beat the Steelers. And both of these teams are 3-0 when they first play in LA at the LA Chargers. You know, now the Chargers will be coming off of a 2-game East Coast road trip and come back home. Maybe the Chiefs get them. But check this out, folks, and I'm going to talk about this team here in a minute. The Chiefs play against the Saints on Monday Night Football in Week 5. A team that this is shocking everybody. They're the big shocker of the entire league in the NFL there, Pickles. And plus, they got somewhat of an early bye after week 6. They have a bye, you know, and then they play Frisco, who's really banged up. I'll get to them a little bit later. Tampa's a lot better than I thought they were going to be. And Houston's Houston. They play them up in December, and they play at Pittsburgh. So, you know, Kansas City looks good. They just don't look dominant, and their depth is starting to get ate into. When you start playing around with the offensive line, you're taking a chance on getting Patrick Mahomes injured. Obviously, they've got away with it up to this point. I'm still saying that could be an issue for the Chiefs as we go ahead. I will give you my Power 5. I got to bring that back. I'll give you my Power 5 tomorrow. A lot of stuff got thrown off last week because I had to get that artwork done on my vehicle. Yeah, the Chargers will stay in Charlotte and fly up to Pittsburgh. They're not going to fly back to the West and come back. I thought that was a really smart move by Jim Harbaugh there. To make sure everything is everything. Okay, so as I mentioned to you folks the other day, or earlier in the program, and I gave a shout out to Grotto from Southern California who's moved here, and I just subscribed to the channel. Thanks again. Back in August, about 4 weeks ago, I'm picking up a guy. He's from Dallas, picking up a guy new, and he's out on West End. He's close to, I think he was staying at that really nice Holiday Inn out there by the Holiday Inn out there by Vanderbilt, one of the nicer ones. I'm pretty much there every day during my day job. I was driving by and picked this guy up there. Younger guy, a little bit younger than myself, probably about 30, 32, something like that. Guy just flying from Dallas to Nashville, real country guy, loves country music. Dropped him off at the at the famous Grand Ole Opry. And on the way over there, we were talking about football. And for some reason, this guy, Dallas native, is a huge Saints fan. You know, he is, and I guess just looking back at it, Drew Brees was born in Dallas area. He grew up in Texas. Now he was an undersized player. He's a Texas native, but he did go to Purdue. He was not quite big enough to play for Texas or A&M or anybody like that. So he goes to Purdue, and we know what happened. The guy makes it. He was a second-round pick, went to the LA Chargers. Didn't work out with him and Schottenheimer, and they went with Phillip Rivers. We all know that history. But in 2006, went to the Saints, and everything started to change. That's when I think that my friend here really leaned into the Saints. That being said, of course, Sean Payton used to work under Bill Parcells, and it all came together. So this guy's a huge Saints fan, and he was telling me that he's like, man, I'm real high on this offensive coordinator we got this year, Clint Kubiak. And that name sounded familiar, and I looked back, and I said, okay, that's the son of Gary Kubiak, who put in an absolute won a Super Bowl, obviously with John Elway and Mike Shanahan back in the late 90s, but also became put together a great offense there with little help at quarterback with the Houston Texans, your Arian Fosters, Matt Schaub, those guys. Very good at coaching up the running game. You know, Gary Kubiak, of course, we know he won a Super Bowl as a head coach with Peyton Manning when Peyton was just a robot. You know, he was 10-man with Denver. And his son had worked for Minnesota for a while. Wasn't really that impressed with Clint Kubiak, the son. But he did go to 49ers, became a passing game coordinator, kind of bounced around a little bit. Pretty young guy, about 37 years old. But I tell you what he has done over the offseason with the Saints, I am just utterly astounded. I am really shocked. You know, the Saints have the potential to be the shocker of the entire season. I thought the fact that you know, Carr is getting a little older, underachieved. Dennis Allen's a defensive-minded head coach. Oh, excuse me. I just did not see that with the Saints this year. Plus the fact that Atlanta had a great offseason, had a lot of defensive guys added on there. They've already been upset by Pittsburgh. They're underdogs tonight. But you look at it from the outside looking in from the preseason, not to mention the fact that Tampa is good. That Tampa's too. I'll talk about Tampa here in a little bit. I thought they would probably finish about third per se. So really shocked at the scheme that this Clint Kubiak has come up with the Saints. I mean, the Saints, Pickles, Alvin Kamara torched Mike Zimmer's defense. Mike Zimmer, very good defensive-minded, very good coordinator, had a great week one there. You know, look what they did to Cleveland, all the sacks on Deshaun Watson, the interceptions. I thought, man, this is the big homecoming. They're going to have a great game. It was a 6-point spread. He fooled Vegas. And the Saints went in there, 3 touchdowns, like Pickles said, by Alvin Kamara. They ran for 191 yards, and that was big play after big play. It wasn't all in one big play. it was gashing that defense there. Mike Zimmer's defense on the road, and Derek Carr, 2 touchdowns, 243 yards, 11 for 16. He had 5 incompletions in that game and 125 quarterback rating. The Saints have scored 44 and 47 points. That is college football numbers. They're the number 1 team in the NFL points scored wise. They are they have outscored every team in the league on an average of 11 points higher than the other. Yeah, they average 45.5 points a game. I would have a defensive-minded head coach with Derek Carr. I would have never. And this Rashid guy, this new guy, Shalit or whatever his name is, they're using him like a guy. He's all over the place, man. He is all over. Mike Thomas is there no more, and I think that's really helped this team. I think maybe he may have been a cancer on this team, and nobody had said anything about it. He had some run-ins there with this organization. Arizona is second at 34.5 points a game. Philadelphia's 34, and Buffalo's 32. Again, 11-point difference there from New Orleans to Arizona. Now, Carolina's a terrible team. They look like they're going to get the number 1 pick again. And according to Pro Football Focus, Derek Carr is rated the number 2 quarterback in the NFL through the first 2 games. And, of course, Kyler Murray's number 1. Geno Smith is number 3. Sam Darnold's 4. Josh Allen's 5. Now, we know that's all just through the first couple games. I mean, for the record, Patrick Mahomes number 9, but he's went against the Ravens defense and Cincinnati's defense. So I will still take Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes over these other quarterbacks. I'm just telling you that the Saints are the shocker of the NFL right now to beat Dallas like that at home. 44-19. The game was never really close. 20 carries, 115 yards. Like I said, 3 touchdowns for Alvin Kamara. And, of course, he caught 2 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. And, like I said, Rashid Shaheed, Shaheed, 4 catches, 96 yards, touchdown. This guy is something to keep an eye on. But this coordinator there, what an addition there that he has been here. Clint Kubiak, like I said, passing game coordinator for Denver in 22, went to the 49ers in 23. He was the OC in Minnesota in 21, all the way from 19. Not a bad – it's like he's come into his own as a coordinator. The Dallas Cowboys were backpedaling the entire way. And as far as Dallas, listen, folks, I mean, they did lose Stephon Gilmore, who went to Minnesota. They should have tried to find a way to pay him. I know CeeDee Lamb, although he had a good game, I thought he was going to be a tick off this week. They need help at running back. There's going back to Elliott, who is just not as fast as he used to be. He had some good moments the other day. I would roll the dice and just stay with that Deuce Vaughn. I know he's super small and whatnot, but I thought that they would originally lose to Cleveland and beat up on the Saints. They end up beating Cleveland and losing to the Saints. So I still think they're probably a wild card team. Didn't expect this team to be world beaters by no means. They'll clean a lot of this stuff up. They just got ambushed by a red-hot Saints team that is catching people off guard. I'll tell you what, though, if they continue to play like this till the first 4 or 5 games, the Saints I'm talking about, teams like that get off to those kind of starts where they're just running roughshod on teams, they have a shot to get to the Super Bowl. They really do. they have a shot. Now, it's very early. Of course, Tampa's really good this year. They're a lot better than I originally thought they were going to be. Okay. And Atlanta, I still say Atlanta would probably be not bad as well, you know. And of course, that defense was all over Dak. I want to say they're 9th in total defense. So they played pretty good defense. You know, Dennis Allen, he's supposed to be. Now, remember, the only reason he got that job is because he put such great defense on Tom Brady and that Tampa team during there, and it just totally dominated Tom Brady. I want to say they shut him out one time. That's what the reason why he got the job, per se. You know, a lot of the players. And so now that they've got a new coordinator, usually that don't work. It's really about the head coach. But so far, so good. Down in the Big Easy, I'm sure the fans are on cloud 9, beating up on Dallas. And that guy picked up an Uber has got to be beside himself. He probably didn't sleep last night, Pickles. This guy's a huge Saints fan. So anyways, kudos to them. They're the shocker for first 2 weeks here. I am a little surprised. Here's another shocker for you. The Ravens. Slow start there. Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson's biggest issue since he came into the league was throwing guys open, getting the ball downfield, making big plays when he needed to. And with his arm very bad in the playoffs, he's got 2-3, I want to say, in playoff games right now. Been in the league. He came in the same year as Josh Allen, per se. Now they've got those 3 new offensive line. They're trying to break in, and Lamar's trying to stay in the pocket here. But, you know, Pro Football Focus, they've got him down to the ranked 13th quarterback when he was ranked up in the top 5 most of last year here. But the Ravens, I mean, with their good running game, he's just not completing that ball downfield. He's getting better at it, but it is a major weakness for him, you know. And it's come up to really cost these guys. And you look at the flip side here, the job that Antonio Pierce is doing, man. I tell you, the fact that they had virtually no run, the Raiders could not. They had virtually no running game on Baltimore, and Gardner Minshew, he had to throw the ball almost every other play. And when you do that against Baltimore, more often than not only do you lose badly. He had 38 pass attempts. They ran the ball, Pickles. Check this out. The Raiders ran the ball for 27 yards rushing. That's why I had to screenshot this, because I know that I couldn't write that down and actually think that they actually ran the ball for 27 yards and they still beat the Ravens in Baltimore on a short early start time with the Raiders coming out of the Western Pacific Coast time zone. Devontae Adams, 9 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Brock Bowers, rookie sensation, living up to his draft, high draft stock. 9 catches, 98 yards, Pickles. There's a good fantasy tight end there. Brock Bowers is kicking butt and taking names, playing just like he did down in Georgia. And look at here's what looks bad by the Ravens, Pickles. This is what looks bad by the Ravens. They ran. Derrick Henry had 84 yards and a touchdown. And Lamar Jackson ran for 45. Justice Hill, the quick twitch Justice Hill, ran for 22. They ran for 150 yards. But Lamar they got to Lamar twice, sacked him twice, one interception there. He 11 targets to Zay Flowers. So he's pushing it down the field to Zay Flowers. He's trying to become a better down the field passer. And maybe this will pay off that more as the season goes along for Baltimore. But they're 0-2. I do feel like I was right about them not winning this division, although everybody else has got off to a bad start other than Pittsburgh. I still believe there'll probably be a late one of the last few wild card teams here. I still think they'll probably bounce back here, but that's a bad loss though. That's one of the worst losses for a Baltimore team coming off a loss that I've seen in a long time. Now, they did get destroyed by Jacksonville in London one year, about 6 years ago. It's not the worst ever. Jacksonville beat them like 44-17 or something like that. But for the most part, Baltimore don't lose like that, you know. And the fact that 27 yards rushing, and normally you stop the run like that 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100. Not unless you turn the ball over that many times, you're going to win. So Baltimore has to be beside themselves in the last 2 games. And they got to play Dallas. That's going to be an interesting game because Dallas's offensive line's holding up. If I'm Dallas, I spread Baltimore out and I'll throw the ball just like the Raiders did. You pass to set up the run, and you set up some delayed handoffs there to Deuce Vaughn or somebody. I don't care how small that guy is. I would play him, you know. So interesting tidbit there out of the Baltimore Ravenland there, Pickles. Pickles says, must win for both teams. Yeah, you got a 1-1, you got 0-2, and the Baltimore's really going to be, they don't want to go 0-3. You start getting in that 0-3, 0-4, then you start getting in that 15 to 20% chance to make the playoff range, you know, and you still got a pretty talented division. It's not as, they haven't dominated the way they used to. And I'll probably get to Pittsburgh tomorrow. But, like I said for Baltimore and Cincinnati, I think they're both will be okay. They're both 0-2. Cleveland's 1-2, should be 0-2. And Pittsburgh is 2-0. And if Justin Fields stays there, it's going to get bad for Pittsburgh. It's inevitable with Justin Fields there. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think the defense has played lights out, best defensive line in football. You can't play like that in 2024 every single week. Eventually, the quarterbacks are going to have to make plays. The defense will wear down. They'll start to get injuries, and then they'll start to look like the Pittsburgh of the last 4 or 5 years, or 3 or 4 years since Ben Roethlisberger retired, in my opinion. Okay, let's go with this 49er game, and I'll get back to Bryce Young here in a little bit. As I clipped, for those of you that follow the program and you follow the YouTube, you follow me on social media, different social medias, X out, Facebook, you name it. Myself, and of course, if you listen to the podcast anywhere, Apple or Spotify, whatnot, myself, Pickles, the regular listener, and Mad New Yorker, all three, we're just a cut above the rest, ain't we, Pickles? All three picked Minnesota to upset the San Francisco 49ers. And at one time, the 49ers were 6-point road favorites. Practically a touchdown there. But that defensive line by Minnesota, coached by Brian Flores, Pickles, they got to Brock Purdy 6 times, sacked him 6 times, 1 interception. He looked very pedestrian, to say the least, against the Minnesota defense. I knew they were for real. I knew the 49ers had a rough game Sunday. Nick Bosa said we can't get away with some of the stuff we gave away with in the Jets game, before the game. After the game, he was right. Minnesota, even without T.J. Hockenson or Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, 97-yard touchdown catch. Now, he's got a leg injury. He left in the third quarter. Justin Jefferson left in the third quarter, and they still beat the 49ers. Some teams just have other teams' number. I remember when the Saints were playing bad a few years ago, and the year that the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl, the Saints beat them. And I remember earlier that year when I talked to the now famous, the Philly sports guy, Jamie Paggs. He says we always had problems playing the Saints, especially down there in that dome. And he's right. The Saints and the Eagles, for some reason, the Saints always match up with the Eagles. Minnesota, this is 2 years in a row they have beat the 49ers. 2 years in a row. And to add insult to injury, now Deebo Samuel is being out with a calf strain. Well, he could be out 3 to 6 weeks with that. So now you've got Christian McCaffrey, who's on IR. Now, of course, what's his name? George Mason, the running back, did well. The fill-in running back, he did pretty well. Should be okay there. But now that you're taking Deebo Samuel out with this calf strain, that's 3 to 6 right there. Not to mention, as I predicted that Brandon Ayuk, it's going to take about a month for him to get up to par because he blew off all the training camp. Sure did. And it's showing. He's barely caught a cold out there this year. Now he's winning against two pretty good defenses, one of the best cornerbacks in Sauce Gardner. And, of course, he went against they've got alternate. Probably went against Gilmore. Minnesota's got Stephon Gilmore. Even though Gilmore's 33, 34 years old, he could still cover. He's a smart cornerback. He knows how to take those angles. So the 49ers are looking more and more like the team who I thought they were. Like Dennis Green was saying, they are who I thought they were, okay? Jordan Mason, running back. That's the bright spot for the 49ers right now. 20 carries, 100 yards. Deebo Samuel was the leading receiver Sunday, and now he's going to be out for quite a few weeks here. Juwan Jennings was banged up. George Kittle did have 7 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown, but again, 36 passing attempts, 6 sacks, 1 interception there for Brock Purdy, a 46.1 QBR rating. They were all over him. That defense was all over him. The good news for them is they got to play the Rams. They got to play the Rams Sunday, who also got demoralized by Arizona because their whole offensive line is out practically. So you still got guys, Nick Bosa in there, and that defensive line that could get to Matt Stafford in LA there. So they got them, but they also got later on coming up Arizona. Seattle's playing really good. They've got the Chiefs in week 7. Dallas in week 8. So it's just not a walk in the park for these guys. They got to play Buffalo later on this year. Okay? They got to play at Green Bay. Green Bay will smoke them once now we're talking November, Green Bay. If Jordan Love comes back, nobody can stop Green Bay when Green Bay is explosive.
Green Bay with the healthy Jordan Love and this young time, they could be as good as this Saints offense at time. You know, now of course Love has got to get back, and he's got an MCL sprain, and they got a big upset win there over the Colts here. But the 49ers here, Arizona looks good. Kansas City, Dallas. Now they do play New England. New England's better than I thought they were, you know. But that is at home. You can, long as you get to Jacoby, was it Brissett there? Eventually, he's going to look like Jacoby Brissett. He's not going to continue to play at this level, although they did lose at home to the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, and Rappaport, Deebo Samuel, calf string, miss a few weeks here. Yeah, I could see them going on a little bit of that's going to be an interesting game. This is like this every year. It's the battle of attrition in the NFL. And when you got a league like this, I mean, you know, we don't know when, when Tua is going to come back. You know, we don't know when he's going to come back. The key is not to get too far behind. Try to stay within striking distance. If you get in the playoffs in this league, and if you're healthy and playing good in December, just like a Cincinnati, I can see happen for Cincinnati, you could go right to the Super Bowl and win it. You know, get in as a wild card or barely win your division and get right in there, you know? So anyways, so keep an eye out for the 49ers. They're not going to be the world beaters they were last year. I predicted that. Okay. All right. The biggest story of the day, Bryce Young got benched after 2 games. You know, if you look at some of his, you know, I was for sure that they were going to be a potential bounce back team, that he was going to really possibly take the league by storm this year because of Dave Canales, the new offensive coordinator, the new head coach that came in from Tampa. And that simply has not worked out. ESPN reports today, Carolina, Bryce Young on Monday was benched in favor of Andy Dalton. In favor of Andy Dalton, less than 24 hours after Dave Canales declared the top pick would remain the starter for Sunday's game against the Raiders. But the first quarterback since being selected number 1 in the common draft era, according to ESPN, since 1967 to be benched for non-injury in his second season. So this is pretty unprecedented. Canales said he made the change after reviewing the film. 26-3 loss to the Chargers, which Bryce Young had a career low 6.4 QBR. Canales did not specify whether owner David Tepper had a say in the decision, but noted not general manager Dan Morgan and executive vice presidents were a part of the discussion. Ultimately, though, this is my decision, Canales says. Certainly a lot of parties involved there, and ultimately this comes down to who was hired earlier this year. Canales had a reputation. Yeah, he worked with Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. I really give him a lot of credit for Mayfield, although Mayfield looked good yesterday. Young was 2-16 as a starter. But check out these box scores. That's from that article. I mean, they've been outscored 67, 67, 70, 73-13. That's for real. 73-13 over the last few games here. And this guy I think he had 84 yards passing the other day. I mean, he's a smaller quarterback. He's like Tua a little bit. He don't have arm strength, and he don't have the height, and he don't have the speed. So he doesn't have the speed of a Kyler Murray. He doesn't have the arm strength of a Josh Allen, nor does he have the height. He's a poised guy, but But right now, he's very close to being called a bust. He's definitely an overrated player here. Yeah, 84 yards, 1 interception, 3 yards of play. I mean, that's bad. That's just that was. And then in week 1, he had 2 interceptions, 161 yards, quarterback rating 12. I mean, that's just. What are you going to do about Bryce Young? Probably should have just this owner's pushy. See, he's real pushy. All right. I think maybe that they probably should have just sit him down all of last year and let him learn. Andy Dalton's not the most talented guy in the world, but Andy Dalton knows how to be a pro. He knows how to prepare for games. He's gotten to multiple playoff games. He's no good in them, but he does everything. He's got everything out of his talent that he could possibly get out, you know. And also you got to look at the fact that this team traded up. They gave a first-round pick that turned out to be the number 1 pick where the Bears, not only did they get a rock star wide receiver in DJ Moore, they got the number 1 pick. Out of that trade, they got Darnell Wright, I want to say, moved him to right tackle. They got Caleb Williams, who's not got off to the greatest start, but he's doing okay. They really come out really well in that particular trade. The Bears did. And I want to say they gave him a 2025 second-round pick. So you look at what they gave up. You look at what they gave up to get this guy. It looks like a robbery. Ryan Poles. They got DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, offensive tackle, Tyreek Stevenson at cornerback. All these guys are by the way. The Bears also received draft picks from the Panthers, including a 2025. They got a second-round pick next year, Pickles. I mean, this is looking like the Herschel. It's worse than the Herschel. At least Herschel Walker can play. This may be worse than the Herschel Walker trade at the end of it, especially if Caleb Williams can actually do it. And on top of that, the guy that was picked after him, C.J. Stroud, looks like a freaking megastar. You know, so it's all messed up in Carolina. And if it's up to me, I don't care if we're playing well, barely losing by 3 points, or just flat out winning. I stay with Andy Dalton because I know they got some talent in that team. That our defense is banged up. And losing Derek Brown's huge, but they still got guys like Shy Tuttle that can play tackle as well. You know. So, not ready to call him a bust, but overrated. And I'll get into Trevor Lawrence's butt tomorrow. But he's overrated, and I think that Lawrence right now is overrated. But I'll get into him tomorrow. By the way, Tampa. Speaking of Tampa, I tell you what, Baker Mayfield's a lot of things. But mentally weak is not one of them. I don't know if his dad put that in him or what. But they sacked Detroit. Detroit should have won that game. But Jared Goff, they got cute in Detroit. You know, they've got this offensive coordinator that has been hired, that has been interviewed for multiple head coaching jobs and turned them down. And for some reason, this guy's really trying to he's trying to be cute and show how smart he is rather than just doing basic execution plays. They're trying way too hard to showcase Pickles. The Lions are this Jameson Williams. They're giving him carries. He's got 11 targets there in the wide receiver room. And Jared Goff, 55 pass attempts. That's too many. That is way too many. Okay. Only 13 carries for Jamar Gibbs. He had 84 yards. They should have stayed with that running game. 11 for Montgomery, and Montgomery scored. Montgomery scored. So they got a little pass happy, and that's the worst game I've seen Jared Goff have in 2 years. I didn't realize Goff had no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He threw for 307 and still got beat. Now, Baker Mayfield had a good game here, you know. But my thing is, Mayfield sacked 6 times, came back, got a couple touchdowns there, and he ran for 1. You know, so he toughed it out. He toughed that game out. And Detroit, Ben Johnson, Ben Johnson's trying to show off for some reason. You know, he's trying to show you how pretty he is. And you got probably the best line in football. There's no injuries on that line. They just got to get back to playing fundamentally sound football. If you're a Lions fan, don't feel bad. Remember, they made it to the NFC Championship game last year, and they lost at home to an average Seahawks team last year. So, you know, they beat the Chiefs last year, and then they lost to the Seahawks. That's a focus thing. That's a lack of focus thing. But Aiden Hutchinson playing like defensive player of the year. It's like they kind of let these guys hang around. Mayfield, here's his stat line. 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, sacked 5 times, but he ran for 34 and ran for a touchdown. He's having a good year. Maybe it wasn't all Dave Canals. Maybe the guy's just resilient, and he played through it. They got the win. They're tied now. That's going to be an interesting game when they play New Orleans now. So it looks like it's a 2-horse race, not unless Atlanta can come up with a big win tonight up in Philadelphia, which I doubt it. Atlanta's not good on the road. Hendon Hooker for Tennessee is on the bench in Detroit. Yeah, he looked terrible in the preseason. Goff will get it back together. It's got to get back to Ben. You know, if I'm Dan Campbell, I'll Ben Johnson, say, listen, man, we got the best line in football. We got Jamar Gibbs out there. We know he's coming back from injury. 84 yards rushing against that good front 7 there. Let's run the rock, settle down, get to Detroit football. You can run to set up the pass because your line is that good, okay? And by the way, what's this guy's name? Sam Laporta. Not a lot of sighting. They're leaning way too much into Jameis Winston. When Sam Laporta's catching the ball, they're winning. Okay, Alamon St. Brown got banged up in that game, but it's not enough. Sam Laporta, power football, sets up the deep passes to Williams and of course to Alamon St. Brown. Got a little too finesse. I think they'll fix it, though. I do. I think they'll fix it. Let me make sure I got all my notes here. Dallas, Bryce Young, Ravens, Bengals. So tomorrow I will give you my we'll get into the Power 5. I like to get the whole week done. I know about I got to go in on Tennessee. We got to talk about the Jets, who keep getting more injuries, by the way. Jermaine Johnson's going to be out for a while. And, of course, Hassan Reddick is still floating out there. He lost another game check, Hassan Reddick. So the Jets beat up on Tennessee, but then, you know, they're getting more and more injuries there to their team. I'll get into Pittsburgh tomorrow. We will get into some of the teams I haven't talked to. And the Giants, man, lost another one. I'll get into them tomorrow as well, Pickles. So, anyways, let's see how this game plays out tonight. If you like the show, folks, please share the show. Jason Patterson said he was wrong about Kansas City game, but hey, Kansas City got the win. But they have some injuries, and I talked about that earlier, Jason, in the program. But we shall see about them. But I do think Cincinnati is going to be okay. I guess that's my main assessment. So thanks again for coming on the program, Jason and Pickles. I will see everybody tomorrow, same time, same place, here on the Real Sports Scope.